In 1900, something eerie unfolded on the remote Flannan Isles. 3 lighthouse keepers vanished without leaving a single clue behind, and more than a century later, the mystery still refuses to fade. The Flannan Isles sit about 20 miles off the coast of the Isle of Lewis, windswept, rugged, and mostly untouched. On the largest island, Eilean Moor, a towering cliff rises nearly 200 feet above the sea. At the top stands the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, a tall white tower about the height of a 7-story building. Every half-minute, its lights sent twin white flashes into the darkness, guiding ships through some of the North Atlantic's most dangerous waters. But in December 1900, something went terribly wrong. The lighthouse went dark, its signal stopped, no emergency message, no flare, no warning, just silence. People on Lewis noticed the absence of the beacon, but no one imagined it meant tragedy. The first hint came from the steamer Arctur, which sailed past on December 15th. Despite the rough weather, the lighthouse remained unlit. When the ship finally reached port 3 days later, the crew reported the strange sight to the Northern Lighthouse Board. Even then, another 8 days passed before anyone investigated. On December 26th, the lighthouse tender Hesperus arrived with supplies and a relief keeper. Captain Harvey expected routine business: drop off goods, switch out the staff, head home. But as the vessel approached the cliffs, he sensed something was wrong. No one was waiting. No movement, no signal. The lighthouse stood, cold and still. They sounded the horn, fired a flare, nothing. Joseph Moore, the relief keeper, was the first to climb ashore. What he found left him shaken. Inside, everything looked untouched. Equipment ran smoothly. The table was neatly set. Coats hung in their usual places. But the men themselves were nowhere to be found. More crew members spread out across the island and uncovered a few unsettling clues. 2 sets of outdoor work clothes were missing, implying at least 2 keepers had gone outside. But why and where? A popular part of the legend claims that strange, emotional diary entries were discovered describing furious storms, prayers, and even one keeper crying. But decades later, researchers found this to be fiction. Those dramatic entries never existed. What was real were signs of violent weather. Iron railings near the landing platform had been bent and ripped by the sea. A massive stone over a ton in weight had been dislodged and thrown inland. A life buoy had been torn away. Clearly, a severe storm had hit. But here's the chilling part. Storms were nothing new for these men. James DeCat, the principal keeper, had decades of experience. He'd married into a lighthousekeeping family. Thomas Marshall, his assistant, had worked tough maritime jobs before this. Donald MacArthur, the third keeper, was known to be hardened by years at sea. These were not men who panicked easily, especially over bad weather. So what happened? Investigators discovered that the protective gear the men normally wore when approaching the shore, oilskins, boots, waterproof jackets, was missing. So they definitely went down toward the landing. But why all 3? Standard procedure required at least 1 man to remain inside at all times. This led to a grim but plausible explanation. Maybe 1 keeper went down to check storm damage. When he didn't return, the second followed. The third, seeing trouble, rushed out to help. A massive, unexpected wave known as a rogue wave could easily have swept all 3 into the sea within seconds. Rogue waves form suddenly when multiple wave patterns combine, and they can rise far higher than anything predicted. Still, some things don't quite fit. The lighthouse interior showed no signs of urgency. Everything suggested the men left calmly, not in panic. And given their experience, why would they go so close to the cliffs after a violent storm? Others have suggested that Marshall had previously been disciplined for not securing equipment properly. Perhaps the men were double-checking items despite the danger. And then come the legends. The Flannan Isles have long been surrounded by eerie folklore. Some islanders believe the places watched over by ancient spirits called the Seven Hunters. According to old tales, lost souls wander the cliffs, and a phantom boat sails the seas collecting the dead. These stories even inspired ballads, though many of the dramatic details, like overturned chairs or half-eaten meals, were later exaggerated or simply invented. Books, theories, and even a film titled The Vanishing have tried to reimagine what happened, but none offer a definitive answer. What remains undeniable is the human loss. James DeCat left behind a wife and 4 children. Thomas Marshall's family lost a son, a brother, and a provider. Donald MacArthur's family lost a husband and father. Their disappearance was recorded in red ink in official logs, a color reserved for tragedy. More than 100 years later, their fate is still unknown. Whether swept away by an enormous wave, victims of an accident, or something stranger entirely, their story continues to haunt the windswept cliffs of the Flannan Isles. If today's mystery kept you hooked, make sure to like the video and pass it along. And if you want more stories like this, just click one of the videos on your screen and stay curious.